With the new Grey Cat Industrial Remote Ore Collector, or the ROC for short, being added into the verse for Alpha 3.10, I wanted to take it out and show you guys just how profitable, or not, it could be before dropping your hard-earned AUEC on it when it becomes purchasable in-game. Now if you're just here to see how to make that cash, skip ahead to this timestamp. I'm going to go pretty in-depth over the course of this video, so if you already own a ROC or just want to see my money-making process with it, skip here. If you're still on the fence about buying a ROC, or just don't know much about it and want to learn more, listen up. Right now, the Grey Cat ROC is only available to purchase on the RSI website for either $50 war bond, meaning you gotta spend cold hard cash for it, but it comes with LTI, or $55 if you got some store credit laying around. It is currently not purchasable in-game as of Alpha 3.10, but hopefully it will be coming soon for a reasonable price. You can also get the ROC in the Rock and Brawl pack for $140 war bond or $150 standard. We'll get into why you might want this pack in a minute, but first, let's talk about what the ROC really is. As the name suggests, it is a ground mining vehicle capable of breaking up and collecting these new, larger crystalline mineral nodes that are just barely out of reach for a hand mining tool. It features an open cockpit design, gimbaled size 0 mining laser on an articulating arm, a cargo box that looks as though it can be opened and for the ores to be collected, but this feature doesn't seem to be implemented just quite yet. And 4 all-terrain tires that don't do a very good job of keeping the ROC planted just yet. So, what all do you really need to get started making money with the ROC? Well, technically, all you need is the ROC. With service stations being able to spawn ground vehicles, and with the new addition of being able to sell these hand mineable gems to the stations, all you're willing to do is spawn one and start raking in profits. Kinda. This process can be very, and I mean very, time consuming. Traversing Star Citizen's terrain in a ground vehicle has always been a challenge, and the ROC is no exception. Sure, you can go nice and slow and careful, but there comes the next issue. The crystalline nodes are pretty far apart, especially if you want to get the valuable ones. Not to mention, the ROC scanners are capable of scanning for ship minables as well as these hand minables, so you run all around a planet or moon just to find something you can't mine. It can waste a lot of time, but it can be done. So if that's not really feasible, what's the solution? Well, pick it up and fly it. With all ships now having the ability to scan for minables, and with the ROC being able to fit in any medium-sized transfer vehicle, like the Freelancers or the Cuddies, you can make quick work of the ROC's 0.8 SCUs of cargo. So for the best mining experience, you will need the ROC and a ship to transport it, the cheapest being the Cutlass Black at $100 or 1.4 million AUEC. You can also rent the Cutlass Black at Lorville's Vantage Rentals for just over 27,000 AUEC per every 24 hours. It's also available as part of that Rock and Brawl pack I was mentioning earlier. Even at $150, you can save a little cash going this route instead of buying both separately. Don't want to spend any more money? Well, as of right now, every Star Citizen backer also has temporary access to a Freelancer, which can be the perfect free carrier for now. I'm not sure how long we'll have this, so getting your own transport ship should be a priority to save up for with your new mining profits. So how does the ROC compare with the other mining vehicles we have in-game? This can, and probably will be its own video, so I'll try and keep this short. Even with the discounted Rock and Brawl pack, which won't be available for purchase for very much longer, it comes pretty close in price to another beginner mining vehicle, the MISC Prospector, coming in at $155. The Prospector is a single crew mining vehicle made to break down those larger nodes you may come across. It has a much larger cargo capacity at 32 SCUs, and it's a ship, so no messing around trying not to flip on these rocky terrains or flying it around in a glorified taxi. So why should you look at getting a ROC if the Prospector is so close in total price to getting a ROC in a carrier ship? Well, the ROC can mine those crystalline nodes, which only have 3 different types of ores. And if you know which planets or moons to look for, they spawn pretty frequently with those really valuable minerals in them. Whereas the Prospector has 17 different types of ores, out of which only 6 are even worth your time. The chances of coming across a large node with a decent enough percentage of those 6 ores are pretty rare in comparison to how many of these nodes you'll be finding during your run. So, time is a big variable factor when mining in a Prospector. I've spent hours scouring a moon looking for enough valuable ores to fill up on, but I've also filled up in under 30 minutes. Another thing to look at is just how much profits each one of these vehicles can bring in when full. The ROC doesn't pick up inert materials, or essentially dirt, so all of its cargo space is taken up only by those valuable ores. So, if you only find nodes with Hadnite in them, you can fill a ROC 100% with Hadnite for a hefty profit of 221,000 AUEC. Compare that to the prospector that cannot separate its cargo just yet, so whatever rock you pick up, unless it's 100% comprised of a valuable ore, some of its cargo room is going to be taken up by inert materials, sometimes a decent amount of it if you're not selective enough. This can land up in either you searching forever to find only those 100% rocks, or you land up taking multiple, shorter, but more frequent runs filling up on any percentage rock you find, so a full cargo hold can vary significantly on value. Not to mention volatile loads, where you may not even have enough time to stick around to only find those 100% rocks before all of your cargo explodes, along with all your profits. Let's say, somehow, you're able to fill a prospector with 100% Quantanium, the most valuable ship mineable that explodes after a set amount of time after picking up the very first speck of it. The prospector will only make you 281,000 AUEC. On average, if you're more realistically speaking, you're more likely to bring in 60 to 150,000 AUEC per run. In comparison, if you could fill the 32 SCUs of cargo in the prospector with Hadnite, it would net you around 880,000 AUEC, around 3 times as much as a full cargo load of Quantanium. That just puts into perspective how valuable these hand mineable gems are. So in terms of risk, reward, and time, I think the ROC is the best way to make money mining as of Alpha 3.10. Although things are likely to change, so I'll keep updates either in the pinned comments or in a whole separate video if warranted. Alright, so now you're the proud owner of a ROC. Where do you go to get started? Well, each planet or moon has different resources on it, and the one we're after is Hadnite. There's also Dolivine and Aphorite that the ROC is able to mine, but those are a huge waste of time, so don't pay attention to them. As soon as you see any of those two on your scanner, move along. I'm not sure these are all the moons, but I know Daymar in the Crusader system, Microtech, and Ariel in the Hurston system have Hadnite on them, in large quantities too. I go to Daymar a lot since it's right next to Port Olisar, and I do a lot of mining and some trading in the Crusader system as it is. Also, Daymar is just one of my favorite moons at the moment. I always go there just to fly around, shoot some canyons, take some tours, and just kinda hang out in general with the boys. I also like going to Ariel pretty frequently, since I spend most of my time around the Hurston system trading, doing missions, killing people, and exploring. It's also one of the best moons to go on right now, since the only rock mineable there is Hadnite, so you don't have to worry about what you're scanning, as long as it has that diamond icon. You do have to be careful though, these places get pretty hot, especially Ariel, so get the Pembroke armor, or the hot suit, and pray that will be enough. Pack some water as well, because you won't last long, especially when those temperatures go above what your armor can handle. Now that we know where we're going, what we need, and what we're looking for, let's get started mining. First, you're going to want to spawn your transport ship. For this video, I'll use my Cutlass Black. I also prefer using my Cutty Red, but since we talked so much about the Cutlass Black, I thought this would be more appropriate for the video. Remember, you don't need a carrier, it just makes it a lot easier, so you can still follow along with this guide and just ignore the parts where I load the rock into the ship. I'll also clarify as we go how things will change without a carrier, but also take advantage of that free freelancer while it's available to you. Now that you're in your carrier, jump to the planet or moon that you chose to bleed dry of resources. Look for a surface outpost that has these blue pads and buildings with a blue light spire. This is where we can spawn our rock. You can also spawn them at Microtech surface entrance at the spaceport or the Commons, or at Lorville's perimeter gates, and load up from there and head out. For this video, I'm going to be going to Daymar, so the two places I like to spawn my rock at are at Shubin Mining Facility and Arcourt Mining Area 141. Open the vehicle ramp of your ship and head over to the blue building and spawn your rock and then load up. If you're not flying, spawn your rock and start driving. Press tab to bring up your scanner, hold right click to charge up your scanner to 100%, then let go once it reaches. Start heading to the blue cubes that pop up. The really large one usually means there's either multiple things there and it'll turn into multiple smaller squares as you get closer, or it could just be a cluster of ship minables. Start heading over to the closest square and keep scanning when it cools off. Keep an eye out for these smaller squares that'll show up as you scan. Those are where the hand minables are, and as you get closer, you'll see one of two symbols pop up, either a rock or a diamond. Nodes with the blue rock symbol are only mineable by ships like the Prospector or Mole. The blue diamonds are the ones we're after. Those are the hand minables that the rock can go after, so keep an eye out for those. Once you see the diamond, start getting closer till you see a white mark start looping around your scanning HUD. Now hold left click to perform a deep scan to find out the contents of the node. You'll see mass, instability, resistance on the left, and content, percentage, and purity on the right. If anything other than Hadnite appears on the content list, keep looking, because it's a waste of time. Once you see Hadnite, look around for a flat landing zone. After landing, you might want to open your exterior just to check to see if the ramp reaches the ground, because if it's not very flat, there can be some complications. Plus, it can be very challenging getting your rock back into the ship once you're done. Once you unload the rock and you've arrived at the nodes, press M to whip out your mining arm, and it'll automatically start scanning the node for instability, resistance, composition, percentage, and purity in the same areas that it was earlier. You'll also see two bars at the bottom left of the HUD. The top bar shows how much energy your laser is putting out, and the bottom shows the current charge rate. Left-click to turn on your mining laser, and start putting energy into the node, and adjust your energy using your scroll wheel. Adjust this and you'll notice the bottom bar start going up along with it. You want to balance how much energy you're putting in to keep the node's charge rate in the green area. If it goes into the red for too long, the node will explode, possibly destroying all of its contents, damaging your vehicle, or even killing you. On the right side, opposite to those two energy bars, you'll see how much energy is in the rock and how unstable the rock is getting. Once the fracture charge bar goes to 100%, the node will break apart, revealing its precious stones. If its instability goes too high by letting that charge rate go into the red, the node will break apart more violently depending on how high that bar is charged, scattering or even destroying some of its gems. Once it's broken apart, you'll see these little purple gems fall all over. Right-click to go into the extraction mode, and then left-click to fire your tractor beam and wave it over all the gems to start picking them up. Sometimes it might take a second for them to get scooped up, and sometimes they'll just hit your laser and fly in a random direction. Welcome to Star Citizen. Scoop up all you can, press M to retract your mining laser, and pack up. Now continue this process until you have a full rock, or 4. One full rock a Hadnite will net you 221,000 AUEC. This, on average, takes me about 1 hour to collect and sell. I do sometimes go out with multiple rocks in my Cuddy Black or my Freelancer Max, just to spend more time on the surface and net some more profits if I have the time. If you're having a hard time finding Hadnite nodes, jump to another spot on the moon or planet and continue from there. If you see another miner along your journey, just leave them alone, they're just trying to grind like you are. Obviously, with Star Citizen still being an alpha, everything comes with its own set of issues, and the ROC is no exception. So let's go over some common ones and how to avoid or deal with them when you do encounter some. Bugs are very sporadic and hard to tell what exactly causes it and how to fix it, so I can't go over all of them, but these are the ones that I've encountered fairly frequently, and I'll list my fixes that have worked for me. You may come across some I've never heard of, or some of my fixes may not work for you, so be sure to leave some in the comments so we can all learn from it, and be sure to report them to the issue council as well so we can get them fixed as fast as possible. The first bug is probably the most infuriating one, getting stuck in the seat of your rock and not being able to do anything. When this happens, you'll go to enter the seat and clip right through the cockpit, and at that point it's already too late. You'll be unable to turn on the rock, drive it away, and you won't be able to exit it. The only way to fix this is to exit to menu and relog. One way to avoid this bug altogether is to open the cockpit first before entering the seat. If it doesn't open, spawn another one or jump to a different outpost and claim that one. If it does open, count your blessings because you're in the clear. One common cause to this issue is storing your ship that has a rock inside of it and then switching servers, whether that be from a server hop, logging out for the night, or a really convenient crash. If you have a ship that has a rock inside of it after changing servers, you may want to claim it via any means necessary. Sometimes you can get away with it, but in my experience, and countless others, it's just too great a risk and it will almost always land up in forcing you to relog. Another issue around the rock is its cargo capacity and its ability to pick up gems. You'll notice as you start gathering the gems, your cargo percentage isn't moving. This is due to a combination of server tick rate and this of course being the first implementation of a true tractor beam and physicalized cargo system. Don't freak out though because it will jump and catch up at some point. You'll mine 3 clusters and only be at like 0.12%, but then you go to pick up 1 gem from the 4th rock and you jumped up to 20% because it finally caught up. The best thing to do here is just to keep an eye out and don't panic when you suck up a couple of these rocks and don't see a change. Just give it a second, keep sucking up on those gems, and it'll catch up. A rule of thumb I kinda go by is each Hadnite node will net you around 3%. Obviously that varies a lot on mass and quality, but that's the rule I'll stick to when seeing if my percentages are sorta accurate. Another thing you'll notice is the rock likes to slide around a lot while mining, and this can make mining and keeping that mining beam on the node a pain in the absolute ass. Sometimes turning the wheels all the way to one direction can help this, or turning your engines off entirely, but sometimes you just kinda gotta deal with it. One more slight issue is when you first power on the rock, your fracture beam may not work. What I like to do is just usually switch to extraction mode and then switch back real quick. It usually fixes it for me, no issues. Now that you know what the ROC is, if you should buy one, how it compares to other mining vehicles, and how to make money with it, go out there, start cracking some rocks, flipping some buggies, and make some cash. Be sure to leave a like if you want to see more videos like this. This is my first attempt at making a Star Citizen video, so I hope you guys like it. Feel free to leave any kinds of feedback or suggestions in the comments. Let me know how much you guys are raking in now. Subscribe for all sorts of new content coming out soon, and head over to my Twitch to catch me live, ask questions, and just do some overall shenanigans with each other. 07 citizens, and I'll catch you in the verse.